Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Colony Drop, a Gundam podcast. My name is Brian, my co-pilot is Yzak, and this is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. From the anime, the movies, the models, the food, the snacks, the clothes, you name it, we do it. On this week's episode, we'll conclude our review of the back half of Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. So let's get back to the Battle of Jachin Due for the preservation of our blue and pure world. I'm just kidding, that's just Yzak, not me, I swear. Quite a battle happening here. Azrael's boys are giving Kira quite the runaround. They end up going into one of these colonies. All the players sort of end up in the colony. Rao, Mu, Kira. It just so happens to be this human development facility with a bunch of fetuses in all these like tubes, which was pretty gross.
Yeah, how convenient.
Yeah. So Rao and Mu are having a shootout inside this development facility. And then Rao throws a picture of, he got it off of, one of the desks, right, or something. It was, a picture of Mu and his dad and the Kira and Kigali baby pic that we saw earlier. So now I'm just like, all right, there's a lot of convenience stuff happening here. We happen to be in the right facility. This is really strange. Yeah. What was your take going in there?
My initial watch, it was all new to me. I was wondering oh God, okay, really, this is really what's happening, and wow, of course they're related. Of course, this explains the mask and all that. And cloning. And now though, I'm like, okay, you're doing way too much at the end of the story. This is a lot of information that maybe should have been somehow hinted at along the way, or been a subplot that was really building and gaining momentum. But to kind of throw it all at us in one episode and drag Kira into it, it was too much.
Yeah, so eventually Rao explains that he actually knew who Kira was the whole time, pretty much. He just thought that he was dead. He thought the twins, Kira and Kigali, were dead. Kira's true father was this guy named Professor Hibiki, and Kira is sort of his ultimate experiment. He is humanity perfected, the ultimate coordinator. Professor Hibiki built artificial wombs to remove sort of the one variable of coordinator births, which was the woman's body, right? So if the woman doesn't eat certain things or they don't take care of themselves in a certain way, maybe the adjustments made to the coordinator baby don't come out exactly like the parents wanted. So this professor guy, removed that and carefully controlled the entire development, and the result was Kira, and he was apparently the only coordinator born this way that survived. That was what I took away from it. Was that what you got?
I trying to piece it all together. He was the ideal coordinator too, right? And the cream of the crop for this scientist that actually put this together. And then I'm trying to figure out was this scientist, he also cloned Mu's dad into Rao?
He did.
Okay. It was before Kira, but it was a worse process.
Right. So, yeah, you have these two sort of storylines colliding, but the only thing that really connects them is that scientist guy, I guess.
Yeah. It was we had the same doctor, but he was still in medical school when he worked on me, so that's why I'm all messed up. And he graduated and then worked on you. That's why you came out perfect. That's why you're Mega Man and I'm Proto Man. You can take down the robot masters and Sigma and all this stuff, and something happens to me after the 10th game and I'm gone.
Proto Man even has the mask, which is great.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and also his little scarf in case he gets cold.
Yeah, so Rao reveals that at the same time as this Kira revelation is happening, we might as well get all the exposition out at one time. So Rao reveals he's the clone of Mu's father, who was basically just sounds like a real jerk, Al Deflaga.
Yeah.
And that's kind of Rao's story, and I guess now he's just upset at his own birth, and he wants to destroy everyone. He wants to kill all coordinators and naturals, because he basically thinks that humans, they will inevitably never be satisfied and try to continually reach higher, and they will only screw it up.
Pretty much, yeah. That, and it's all a mess. he has short telomeres, so like it's not just him being like the rejected clone, it's him having a shortened lifespan, and he has to take those pills, and he's just been disgusted by human warfare, so humans don't deserve to live, and he's playing both sides against each other. How he got in contact with the Earth Alliance and Azrael is never established, or even they never even established how they communicate so well, but but just supposed to believe it happens.
That's an inference, right?
Yeah, I mean, even Azrael says like, I guess, Le Creuset or something was like correct or something,
Yeah.
So I don't know what secret way they're smuggling messages to each other, but it's pretty effective.
The only actual time that we see Rao give a message to Azrael is around this time when he gives Kira back to the Earth Alliance, and he gives her a disc, and on it are the plans for justice and freedom, and thereby also the N-Jammer cancelers, which was the one thing that Patrick Zala did not want to fall into the Earth Alliance hands, because now with those plans, the Earth Alliance can use nuclear weapons again, Yzak, which means it's very bad for the plants.
Or very good for Earth.
Yes. So Azrael gets this, and his face literally lights up, and he's like, oh, I can't believe it. Look at all this. We are so lucky.
Schematics.
How often do you get the enemy's schematics for the enemy's new secret weapon kind of just randomly delivered to you?
Yeah, that never happens. I don't think that's ever happened in any other Gundam series.
So now the Earth Alliance immediately, I guess they get these schematics, and they immediately figure out how to make N-Jammer cancelers, because they make a bunch of them, or they must, I guess. And to go back to our earlier discussion, because the N-Jammer cancelers only work in a small area, that means in these next few episodes, the Earth launches, 50, 100 nukes at least?
Pretty much, yeah. Dozens at least.
Yeah, so that means that every nuke they launched had to have an N-Jammer canceler equipped. That's a lot of N-Jammer cancelers made in a very short amount of time.
For something so critical, I'm sure they, booted up the factory and did run the clock shifts and all that, and whatever machines they needed or retooled and all that.
Yeah. So now with N-Jammer canceler plans in hand, the Earth Alliance launches the first few dozen of these nukes at Boaz, which is an asteroid base. Is that? I guess that it was like we never heard about Boaz before, did we? And then all of a sudden it was like, let's attack Boaz, and I was like, what the hell's Boaz?
It's the plant Solomon, so it's before you actually get to the plants. From what I read, it's actually used to belong to the Earth Alliance, but they left it, or it was a mining asteroid or something. But yeah, now it's been refitted as a military base, and it's supposed to be impregnable.
So we learned about Boaz, and then we are immediately nuking that thing.
Yeah, they have a very quick battle.
Yeah, very quick. Boaz gets pretty much wiped out. And your pal, Patrick Zala, decides to counter with another acronym-based super weapon named Genesis, which we saw on some computer screens a few episodes earlier. And you knew it was no good because it certainly looked like a colony laser, Yzak.
Yeah, I mean, it was very purple, though.
Now that with Boaz taken out, the Earth Alliance sets their sights on the plants, and here is where we see the debut of a new weapon for freedom and justice, called the meteor units.
Oh, God.
Lacus has had this little trump card up her sleeve. What would you describe the meteor units as, Yzak? They're basically mobile weapon docking stations for the justice and the freedom?
Pretty much. They make like these massive beam sabers, and like they have like this engine on the back, so you can kind of boost around faster, cut through people faster, I guess. But I'm curious, like, what was their original purpose? Because they were part of the Eternal, weren't they? And like they just get released, so they were originally turrets.
Interesting. I didn't actually think they were turrets. I thought she just had them, in storage, basically. Like that's
okay.
That was why the Eternal was meant to house the justice and the freedom, was because she had the meteor units on board.
Okay. Sure. But yeah, these things are just, I think they're unsightly is how I would describe them. They have like a weird kind of white pink color scheme. They're way too big for the mobile suit that they're on. They try to shoehorn a dendrobium into Seed, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I would say the closest thing in the Universal Century is definitely the dendrobium. And yeah, I agree. The design is pretty weird. It definitely is not aesthetically pleasing, at least to me. I think what bothered me the most about these is I think that's a neat idea. I just don't understand how they don't run out of ammo. Because every time we see them, Kira and Athrun are launching, I don't know, a minimum of 100 missiles. And you can only do that so many times, man, before you got to go resupply. The beam sabers were pretty cool. I thought those were okay. They're just kind of shaped weird.
Yeah. I like how their logic was like, well, what does this backpack need? And then we're like, we just need massive beam sabers.
Yeah, we heard you like backpacks, so we put a backpack on your backpack.
So they just strap them on, and now your mobile suit's like, I don't know, 3 times more effective. Or it was an easy solution to make their, the 3 ships alliance seem like they could go toe to toe with either ZAFT or the Earth Alliance, and I think it's a little silly.
Yeah, in terms of numbers here, the 3 ship alliance, that's the Archangel, the Eternal, and the Kusanagi, are fighting well above their weight class here in terms of volume, right? Freedom, Justice, they're just beam spamming and killing all these. I shouldn't say killing, because Kira doesn't aim for the body anymore. He only aims for like the hands and the head. Yeah, they're taking out what? Every time they fire, 10 suits?
Pretty much, yeah. Or at least taking out their heads. For some reason, the 3 ships alliance like swears off violence. Relena Peacecraft is now like their tactician, and they're only blowing off the heads of mobile suits.
So the Earth Alliance launches all these nukes at Boaz, basically just blows up Boaz completely. Then probably the most shocking moment of the show happens, and that is Zala uncloaks Genesis, which apparently has been hidden via Mirage Colloid this whole time, and it's just this massive gamma ray laser. It has like a nuclear explosion, and then it redirects all of that energy through a mirror that they burn through and cycle out every time they fire. And the mirror focuses it wherever he wants it to go. So they uncloak Genesis and they immediately fire it at 60% max power at the Earth Alliance fleet, and it wipes out 50% of the fleet. And holy crap, Yzak, that was a great opening to the episode.
Yeah. And almost like, well, actually, no, kind of worse than the Cyclops. Like, if you get hit by the gamma ray laser from Genesis, not only does it blow up ships and mobile suits, of course, but like the people like inflate inside their normal suits like balloons and then pop.
Yeah, it was pretty disgusting. And they always made sure in all the scenes to show the inflation first before the before the machine part blew up. It was pretty brutal. A lot of brutal super weapons in the Cosmic Era.
Yeah, but this one takes the cake because it's too powerful.
It is very, very powerful. So Zala fires this thing, wipes out the Earth Alliance fleet, or half of it, and then he immediately gets on the I don't know, space TV or whatever you want to call it, and he's immediately blaming the Earth Alliance, saying, look, they used nukes again, therefore they deserved this, and if I point this gamma ray laser at Earth, it's going to destroy all life on Earth. And Waltfeld, I thought, had some good insight here. He's like, look, humans are messed up. We get used to anything. The first time I shot someone, it really bothered me, but then I shot more people and it didn't bother me anymore. So they're going to start firing this Genesis thing because they've already fired it once. Mass death be damned, right?
Right.
So now Zala plans to fire Genesis again, but this time he's going to fire on the Earth's lunar base. And, that would be a huge blow to the Earth Alliance. Over the course of the show, the Archangel has tried to go to the moon and to Alaska. Alaska's already gone. The other big place they tried to go was the moon. So if he takes out the moon too, the Earth Alliance is really hurting here. Yeah,
and the reinforcements are coming from the moon too.
They might not make it, Isaac.
What do you mean?
Well, because that's exactly what Zala does. He fires Genesis again, and it destroys the entire crater that the lunar base was in. So obviously this is, huge damage to the Earth Alliance fleet. And now at this point, Azrael wants to nuke the plants directly instead of Genesis. His idea being, well, if we take out all their people, then we will essentially have won the war. And that's pretty diabolical, Isaac. Although it's the same thing as what Zala wants, I suppose.
Yeah. On the one hand, yes, we might win the war. But on the other hand, Genesis might still be operational after the plants are nuked. So you essentially just have violent, vengeful people in command of the one weapon that can wipe out Earth.
I'm not sure his decision made a whole lot of sense. It certainly did from I'm a genocidal maniac but tactically, I'm not sure it made sense.
Right.
And here's where we get our big final showdown between Natarle and Ramius. We get the big climactic part where they both say fire at the same time. Fire, because that's like their line.
Right.
Both ships take like major damage from the Lohengreens or whatever.
Lohengrin. Those are so cool.
This also treated us with the first triple boob bounce of the series. Because throughout the show, for whatever reason, there would be, I don't know, every 5 episodes or so, they threw in, like, whenever the Archangel would take damage, they would throw in, like, a boob bounce from Ramius as she would, like, rock back and forth in her chair. It's the same animation. They just kept using it over and over.
Comment below if, like, we ever do, like, a live watch, you want in the bottom corner to be, like, Brian's boob bounce counter.
But in this battle, because you had Ramius against Natarle and Flay was on Natarle's ship, they showed Ramius boob bounce, Natarle boob bounce for some reason, and then also a Flay boob bounce to give you the full trifecta. So if you're on Seed boob bounce watch, I think it's episode 47 is when you get, that's when you hit peak boob bounce for Seed.
And then in the special features, in the deleted scenes, there's a scene where they're in like the hallway in zero gravity and they bounce against each other.
I don't think that exists, but
they're in the middle of combat and like they take a few hits and they start bouncing. It's like bumper cars.
I just think it's funny because like one, Seed is not like I don't feel like Seed, like I said last time, is a fan servicey show, but they really play it up in those openings, and then they try to like hide it a little bit because these characters have these like very, I'll say, unsexy military uniforms on, but then they still attempt to throw like a boob bounce in there. So I feel like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. But
it's for the fans, Brian. All right. Clear as a fan, you're noticing and you're enjoying it, aren't you, Brian?
It's hard to not notice, Isaac. They put the 3 boob bounces one after another in the show.
Doesn't that turn you on, Brian? Doesn't that butter your biscuit?
Well, I wrote it in my notes.
Doesn't that boil your goat?
I remember it happening and being like, well, I got to write it down. I got to call that out on the podcast.
Doesn't that shoot your scooter?
Shoot my scooter. But beyond that scene, I thought this fight was great between Natarle and Ramius.
Now I'm just looking at scenes of like them and Zero G like bouncing around and during combat, and then like the men are being like thrown from their chairs and they're bouncing into them.
The men are being bounced around because they can't concentrate on the fight.
Like, look at your screen. I can't right now.
I'm very busy. But so I thought this fight was great though, because at this point Azrael is basically giving orders to Natarle, and she's sort of resisting following them, but still sort of doing it. And oh boy, I think this is the saddest moment of the series for sure. Or this was my saddest moment of the series upon my first watch back in 2003.
Right.
And so at this point, Rao has boarded one of your favorite Gundams, the Providence Gundam.
Of course.
And he's basically just taken everyone apart in his way, right? He dismantled the Buster, I think, like right away. Like I think Dirka saw him, and Rao was just like, yeah, whatever. And then like the bits just kind of took apart all of Dirka's limbs on the Buster. And I was like, oh man, that poor Buster. It's been so out of date for so long. It had no chance. And then Mu tried to fight the Providence, and he did actually a pretty good job being in that out-of-date Strike Gundam and going up against Bits. How did you feel when the Providence first showed up, Isaac?
First, I was like, oh no, not another Gundam. And then I finally saw it, and I was like, okay, this is pretty awesome. And it looks kind of villainous, but it's the traditional Gundam colors. So I like it. I've said before that I like the model. The one thing I don't like is the noise its bits make. It is a shrill kind of whistle noise. I do not like it at all.
Interesting. I do like though that they gave it bits to be consistent with him and Mu's like better spatial awareness and how they're basically new types in this show. I mean, they have the new type flashes and everything.
Right.
No other mobile suits really fight with bits in the show, to my recollection. So I liked that they came back at the end in the form of a Gundam. And in the hands of Rao, it's pretty deadly. He took apart Mu, and Mu's sort of limping back to the Archangel, and he sends out a notice to Ramius, to the Archangel, to let him in. They're in sort of dire straits at this point because they've already taken some damage from Natarle. Natarle's ship's not doing too well either. It's taken some damage, and Azrael says, hey, you need to sink that ship now, and he really wants them to fire. And I guess they see that Mu's coming back or something, and it just sets off Flay. And so Flay gets on the radio and says, Archangel, get away. Well, this sets off your man, Azrael.
He's kind of right, though. We're in the middle of a battle.
That's fair.
We must defeat the enemy. Who's with me? Comment below.
For a blue and pure world.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we have nukes. We got to use them.
So Azrael slaps Flay.
Take that.
And Natarle doesn't take that too kindly. She says, stay away from my crew. So then she gets into a fight with Azrael.
They're fighting while at the same time Ramius is like gearing up to blow them away.
Natarle's like restraining Azrael. And then she immediately orders her personnel to abandon ship to the Archangel. So now she's reached her moral tipping point?
Pretty much, yeah. She didn't want to nuke civilians and all that. She wanted to retreat, even though Azrael made a good point. Like, where's there to retreat to? What, are we gonna just leave this weapon here?
Yeah, and he said that, and I was like, oh, he's got a point. They're gonna fry the earth. So you kind of got one shot at this. You might need to go take it. Now Natarle has fully committed to going against Azrael, and she's restraining him. But then Azrael shoots her. But then she locks him in, which was a smart move. Now he can't get out, and he shoots her twice more. So I think at this point he shot her in the side, the shoulder, the leg. Is your pal Azrael, is he just a bad shot, or what's his deal?
In his defense, they're in zero gravity, so I'm sure any marksmanship practice he's had, which should be minimal, since he's holding, essentially a glorified Derringer, he's doing the best he can in space. Also, you have to keep in mind, every time she gets shot, Brian, there's a boob bounce. So that's moving her around. She's a harder target to hit, all right? It's like hitting a clay pigeon that goes in a spiral. So
That's true.
Yeah, how many bounces were there, Brian? One for each shot?
I didn't count those ones.
We call those triple Bs. Bullet, boob, bounce.
Good thing she didn't have a bullet canceller on her.
So the gun's called a life counselor. Good thing I brought my life counselor with me into space, just in case I need to use a pocket pistol to shoot someone in the bridge. What was he going to do with that? I mean, why does he even have that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. So despite, Natarle's best efforts, Azrael, he gets into a terminal and he fires the Lohengrin. And that shot is headed straight for the Archangel's bridge, and they have no time to evade. But who flies up and blocks the shot, Yzak?
It's Mu. Mu flies up, and he holds out his shield, which I don't know how, but it's able to take the circumference of the beam. I don't think that's possible, but hey, this is the end of the show, so things are going to happen that really don't make sense. So he gets his hero moment, Brian. The shield starts dissolving, of course, because the heat and the energy from the Lohengrin, it's so much. And then once that's gone, he turns around to Mu, and they're talking on the screen, and he's I forgot what he says, nonsense love stuff, I love you so much. And then the beam hits him, and he's exploding and dissolving, and then Ramius is no, and then Mu dies. He explodes, and there's nothing left. The beam makes him evaporate. He's not even blown to smithereens. He's reduced to vapors.
Yeah, the strike just kind of goes away in a poof of smoke. While Yzak said that it was dumb love stuff, it wasn't at the point where he said, "See, I told you I make the impossible possible," or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It was great.
Mu lines.
I loved it.
Mu final line.
I was so upset when Mu died, and then see Destiny come out, but we'll get there one day.
Yeah, we're working our way.
So now Ramius is just heartbroken now. So she fires on the Dominion, and then the Dominion goes up in smoke. She takes out the bridge, and your pal Azrael goes down with Natarle.
Tragic day for all of us at Blue Cosmos. We lost a hero to the cause.
Now Azrael's off the board, so really the only remaining people are Patrick Zala and that jerk Raoul Le Creuset. Had to work Le Creuset in here just for Yzak once.
Le Croissant.
I think I'm going to call Lacousse the spruce Lacousse.
Lacousse the spruce and the Creuset, whatever way? I don't know.
Raoul Le Croissant. We get to our final episode of the series, Yzak. Lacousse is futilely begging ZAFT to stop using Genesis. She needs to stop begging. That never works.
Did it? I mean, actually, I'd say this might be the one time her broadcast or whatever kind of worked, because in the
that's true.
In the control room of Genesis, like, a lot of the technicians were just kind of looking at each other, right? They're like, are we really going to go through with firing at Earth? You know, I mean, it's one thing to blow enemy military out of the sky. It's another thing to, you know, wipe out all life on Earth. Like, you know, maybe some of them like elephants, you know, so they didn't want to like imagine them wiping out all the elephants on Earth, you know, things like that. And then like, oh god, this is when like nameless personal assistant to Patrick Zala like turns on him.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, have we seen that in any other Gundam series? I don't think so, right?
No, but you know, since this is 1 year war by the numbers, they had to shoehorn in a betrayal of the enemy leader. So
yeah,
but I mean, I'd wish it was a character we've seen this whole time. You know, like I don't know, an assistant that was with Patrick the whole time, maybe, or
I wish it had been Atherin.
Yeah, that would have been so much better. Very Shakespearean, but instead, out of nowhere, like clearly someone in his inner circle was like, you know, we shouldn't do this. And then I guess Patrick pushed his luck, right? He was like, oh, I'm not even going to argue with you. Here's the bullet. Here's the life counselor. Patrick pulls out his life counselor instead of arguing with the man. And he puts one in him and one or two, and then assumed, oh, that was it. Let me just stand up and man the gun myself. But little did he know, the guy he just shot, guess what, Brian? He had a life counselor too.
It's almost like life counselors are standard issue in ZAFT.
Pretty much. Now that so many life counselors have been fired at each other in the control room of the super weapon, I guess like the technicians just up and leave, right? Everyone at a computer monitor just leaves the room.
Yep. They're like, we're done here. I mean, he's dead. He's bleeding out. We're not going to fire this thing. We'll just go home.
At this point, the battle's been going on for like too long. I think technically ZAFT was winning, but I don't know. I guess the Three Ships Alliance was causing them a lot of problems or something. And from what I remember, I think Kira and Atherin, like they were able to get their Gundams like to Genesis. So whatever defenses Genesis had are mostly gone by now, I guess.
Yeah, it was Atherin and Kigali, but yeah, they like parked their Gundams in Genesis, which is I had a question on that. They like get their Gundams into Genesis, and they park them, and they try to go find the control room. When they got into Genesis in their Gundams, why didn't they just start firing indiscriminately and blow the place up from the inside?
I think they said they couldn't do that because of like Mirage Colloid, something like that.
Okay.
Like the armor itself, like it couldn't be destroyed from blasting. You had to actually trigger something inside of it to destroy it.
But then I had a question on that too, because the Kusanagi tried to fire and the Eternal tried to fire on Genesis, and they were like, oh, well, their phase shift armor or whatever can't last forever. But wouldn't it have been smarter to just fire on the mirror and buy more time?
Brian, you should have been an officer, because that's a brilliant idea.
But just the mirror seems a lot more fragile than actual Genesis.
Probably, but at the same time, like... Actually, I guess you're right, because they have to replace that mirror each time it gets heated up.
Yeah, and it takes about an hour to swap it out, I think.
Yeah, as long as you can, I guess, you don't even have to destroy it outright. Maybe damage the mirror enough. It should be.
Yeah, just so it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, Genesis would be useless, right? It'd be like having like a sniper rifle, but somebody messed up your bullets. So
yeah, it's like that Twilight Zone ending, right, where the guy's in the library, he loves books, but then his glasses breaks, and he's like, ah.
Yep, you only got half of the equation there, buddy. So yeah, good point, but at the same time, I don't know. Knowing ZAFT, like they would have pulled something out of their sleeves, like, oh, we modified it so we don't need the mirror or something, So the Three Ships Alliance want to be thorough and just get rid of Genesis. Yeah, which, little tidbit, I did some research. Genesis actually wasn't just a super weapon built from the ground up. It was originally a propulsion system for exploration in space. The beam would propel a ship at very high speeds, I think maybe nearing the speed of light, so that the exploration for coordinators could be done. They really wanted to follow in the footsteps of their founder. Explore space, this time at high speed, approaching fractions of light speed. Instead, I don't know who, probably someone in Patrick Zala's faction said, this is a lot of energy. We could actually point it at objects and destroy them. So here we are.
Oh boy.
That man's name, Jason Genesis.
They worded him with his name on the side of the laser.
He's like, okay, I'll do all like the math and stuff that we need, the engineering, but you have to name this weapon after me. And Patrick was like, okay, we got you covered.
I'm so glad they didn't name it like the Earth Canceller.
Yeah, the Earth Canceller. All life canceller.
So now Azrael's dead. Zala's dead. So the last guy left is Raul Le Creuset.
What about our buddies, Brian? Our buddies in the Forbidden and the Calamity?
Oh, well, they're dead at this point.
They're having the time of their life.
Yeah, they've been killed. So, of all people, Yzak killed 2 of them. He really did some damage finally, this guy.
In their defense, like, I don't know what happened with their dosage, but they were clearly not performing as well as they could have.
The last one that he killed was definitely having some trouble.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good death, right? He took Dirka's gun, the Buster's gun, and shot it. I think that was the Raider.
Yeah.
Atherin cut one of them in half with the Meteor beam saber, which was pretty brutal. That was a good one.
Yikes.
And then Yzak killed the other one too by basically doing like a suicide charge, and he absorbed the big beam shot with his shield and basically got up close and personal and just kind of stabbed him with the beam saber. So Yzak really doing some work here in the Battle of Jachin Due.
Redeeming himself.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he really redeemed? He shot that whole shuttle of civilians.
All right. I guess he's not. But, in the eyes of, like, people that root for, like, Yzak and the Three Ships Alliance, I guess he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, no, he did some stuff. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Still got that terrible haircut. The Prince Valiant.
Quite the bowl. Yeah, the bowl haircut.
Is Yzak so stressed that, like, at such a young age, his hair has turned silver? Like, because of how angry he always is and, like, yelling and stuff? Like, he did it to himself, right? Like, he doesn't tell anybody in his squad, but he actually has, like, ulcers. He has the stomach of a 50-year-old man.
Oh, Yzak.
He's got the blood pressure of an air traffic controller.
There were a whole bunch of moments in the series where it just seemed like everybody hated Yzak. Like, even Rao hated Yzak.
Well, he's the hardest one to talk to in their meetings, right? He's always like, why can't we attack her?
Yeah. And he was never right.
And Rao's like so level-headed and calm, so.
Silly Yzak. So at this point, although Zala's dead, Genesis is still set to fire, Isaac. That pesky Patrick initiated like a self-destruct sequence, but before it self-destructs, it's still going to fire. So something needs to be done there. But before that gets resolved, we cut back to Rao and Kira, who are having their final philosophical duel. Your man Rao is really making the Providence look good. What did you think of his performance?
He was doing great. He ended up losing, but dare I say he was the second best pilot in the series.
I think he was, and I think Kira got a little bit lucky here. Rao took out both of Kira's meteor arms, the Freedom's head, the Freedom's right leg. He shot Kira multiple times in the chest, and I think the Freedom had either one or no arms by the end. So really, any one of those shots, especially the ones to the chest, could have blown up the Freedom.
Yeah.
Kira ended up getting the best of Rao. He took out his bits, sort of one by one. Kira kind of won with like a suicide charge, basically, and stabbed him. I would agree with you that he's probably the second best behind Kira, for sure. And Kira has that, OP targeting computer.
True. I don't know. It was a good epic fight to end the series. We know who I was going to go. But, yeah, good final villain.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Sometimes those last fights, maybe they don't live up to the hype.
Yeah.
This one, I thought it was really good. I thought it was well-paced, and there was a lot of damage done on both sides. I didn't feel like Rao was overmatched.
It was a lot going on at once. They're fighting inside the superweapon. The superweapon's going to fire. They have friends inside that they're trying to, self-destruct it and get out. And, yeah, the battle's kind of still raging outside. So there's a ticking clock and the stakes are raised.
And so once Rao's dead, Genesis reaches its self-destruct point But it blows up because our pal Atherin self-destructed his Justice, just like he self-destructed his Aegis. But he got out of there because Kigali saved him. Or like a smart man, unlike Lord Azumi, he set his little self-destruct and then he got out and he got somewhere else and then he left. He didn't stay in the suit and be stupid.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's where we leave off in Seed, Isaac. I think that they say there will be a peace negotiation.
Yeah, like the Three Ships Alliance shoots off flares after Genesis blows up. And then they're like, all ships are signaling that, they're standing down in a ceasefire.
Yeah.
Both governments are calling for a ceasefire. And then they play the little end credits music and, yeah. Oh, did we talk about Flay getting killed?
Oh, we didn't. Yeah, Flay got killed in that last battle with Rao and Kira.
The lifeboat ships, the little shuttles leaving the Dominion, heading over Archangel. They didn't make it, Brian.
Yeah, it was quite the surprising moment, right? Rao shoots at her shuttle, and Kira rushes in and blocks it with his shield, which, by the way, doesn't even make sense. Shouldn't these beams be moving at like the speed of light? But anyway. So he blocks it with his shield, right? And then you think, oh, Kira saved the day. Nope. Providence bit right behind the shuttle. Yep. Shoots it from another angle, just blows a hole clean through that bad boy. Flay goes up in flames. Oof.
And then, like, they show her, like, spirit kind of floating, and, you see her body, like, in the fire, kind of wiggling around a bit. And
yeah, she has a spiritual conversation with Kira where she tells him, I will always love and protect you. I guess, overall, what did you think of the Kira Flay? I'll call it a romance, even though I don't think it was really a romance.
It was, I don't know. Kira had feelings for her. She was just kind of crazy and had some feelings for him. It was just a mess, and so many people had died by then. I guess they just wanted one more death for Kira to just kind of give him like emotional propellant going into the final battle. And also, Flay can't live. They wouldn't want her to live. What's she gonna do? I guess they could have had her live, and like she kind of saw the error of her ways. Like she would maybe be regretful. Be like, I can't believe I was so gung-ho about killing coordinators. They're people too, or something like that. But instead they're like, no, redemption via death. And they killed her.
Yeah, Flay, she's just a weird character to me. I feel like they couldn't decide what to do with her, maybe. Because the last time Kira saw her, he told her that their relationship was a mistake. And then all of a sudden she's still all, I love you and all this stuff at the end. I was like, oh, I thought we were done with the Kira Flay thing. I thought we were on the Kira Lacus train.
It would have been better if like he tries to save her and like she still dies, but like her little spirit says, I will haunt you until the end of your days. I hate you. I can't believe you let my father get killed in that space battle.
Yeah, like you promised, and then
she's like, I hope you coordinators all get killed. Like I'm gonna become the spirit of Blue Cosmos.
Yeah, that would have been way more of a twist ending for sure. I would have liked that.
Yeah, in Seed Destiny, you see like a bunch of Blue Cosmos people. They have like T-shirts with Flay's face on it. Like,
Flay was right.
Remember Flay? Yeah.
Yeah.
What would Flay do?
WWFD.
Yeah, she would kill coordinators.
Yeah. So that was Gundam Seed. I think we were a little harsh on it during this bit. I thought the back half was actually really good. You just can't think about it too much in certain parts.
I'll agree with you that the back half is better than the first half. For a very colorized redo of the 1 Year War, it's pretty good, pretty close to it. Some problems though, right? Some wackiness. Even the fashion, right? Like Kira's shirt. I know you want that shirt, Brian. You want those sleeves with the buckles.
Kira's shirt is equivalent to Jerry Seinfeld's puffy shirt.
Did we just date ourselves? Did we just lose like all of our Zoomer listeners?
I don't know. You know what? They should all watch Seinfeld. It's a great show.
Maybe they will. Like, yeah, when their parents are done watching. Some of the relationship stuff on the show is like, whatever, But overall, I think it had some really cool characters. Mu, really well done, fun guy. He's like right up there with like, very, very much a Han Solo personality, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole Ramius Natarle dynamic, that was really cool. We've never seen anything like that, really. This did that so well. They're on opposite sides, but you really like both of them. Azrael, as much as I enjoyed him, he really felt kind of shoehorned in at the end. As like, we really established the Earth Alliance as kind of this bigoted, prejudiced force too. What would be the leader of that? And, you know, out of nowhere, it's like, oh yeah, there's this guy that's like kind of a corporate leader and sort of not really the government, but he's going to be jockeying along in the ship. Say what you will about Zala being one-dimensional, but he was at least there from the beginning of the show. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wish we had seen Azrael from the beginning. Like, he just kind of showed up in episode, I don't know, whatever, 30, 32, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, missed opportunity with the extended pilots. You know, there's, I mean, how can you have a show called Gundam and we learn almost nothing about some of the Gundam pilots? You know, that's very rare in the series. They could even have their own side story, really.
What about the romances? Did those work for you? And by those, I mean the three major ones. By the end, you had Kira and Lakus, you had Athrun and Kigali, and you had Mu and Ramius.
They worked going from least to best in that order. Kira and Lakus, I didn't really buy it too much. It seemed very shoehorned in, and plus I'm not a big Lakus fan. Lakus, whatever. Athrun and Kigali, that one was done better with, you know, them being enemies and then, you know, meeting and falling in love, working together, fighting side by side. Ramius and Mu, that one was the best one, I thought.
Yeah, I think I agree, especially with that ordering. Even Kira and Lakus I was okay with. I think it was still better than maybe some of the romances we get, like, for example, Ko and Nina. But yeah, I think Athrun and Kigali, you know, they definitely had a lot of development there, being on that island together. Kigali, you know, asking Athrun to be present when she told Kira that they were siblings. That was done well. And then, yeah, I totally agree on Mu and Ramius. That's why it hurts so much when Mu dies, right?
Yeah. They had such a good tragic arc, though. She's his commanding officer, and like first it's like, is this kind of like a brother-sister kind of thing or friend co-worker thing, Jim and Pam? And then I was like, no, this is clearly something way more serious. And then it's like, oh, okay, of course you would die for someone you loved. Just like, you know, Azrael died for Blue Cosmos. That was the other love story in this show. How much he loved Earth, how much he loved that planet.
that shining pure blue planet.
Yeah, he was like, well, I must do the heroic thing and aim for their bridge. And let me just say, as a civilian, he did that really well, really quickly. Like,
he did.
You know,
he did.
I know his company probably built the Minion, I assume, but you know, it's one thing to like own the company that builds like, you know, the laptop. It's another thing being able to like open the laptop and go to like the bio screen and like immediately start changing things, you know, on the fly. So did a heck of a job.
A little surprised none of those nukes got through, but he certainly gave it his all.
Can you imagine being in the plants? Like, oh God, they must have been freaking out, right? Because you're looking outside your window and you just see like these huge pink and purple explosions. Were the plants being evacuated? We never heard anything about. Well, we never really saw what was going on in the plants.
I mean, where are they gonna go?
Yeah, I mean, you got me there, but like, I don't know. I'd rather be on a ship outside the plant if the plants are being nuked than being in the plant.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I was gonna tell you, when Azrael was talking about nuking the plants, he was like, "I'm gonna destroy those hourglasses," and I was like, "Oh, he has just as little respect for the design as we do."
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and he knows they're fragile at the center.
Yeah, it just takes one little, you know, just break the little middle and you're done.
God, I don't even think you need nuclear weapons to take out the plants, right? Because it's all
That's
glass.
That's a good point.
Yeah, say what you will about like the O'Neill cylinders always, you know, having troubles of their own whenever there's a battle happening, but you know, those can kind of be patched up, and like if there's a hole in the colony, it seems like people could kind of go about their business for a while at least, you know?
I think these are the problems you get into when your character's goal is to just destroy the colonies rather than you have some sort of just political conflict, right? Because we're saying if you just want to destroy the plants, then do you really need nuclear weapons? Probably not.
Conventional probably could have done it better.
With less fanfare, right?
Right. I mean, technically from Earth you could have attacked them and gotten it blown away if you're moving an object fast enough, I guess, and they can't stop it in time, but I don't know. We'll leave that to the Mars Xeon. It's to time their shot every 3 years.
Every 10 years when that volcano erupts. Oh,
Yeah.
we got one, boys.
He's like, oh, the orbits are getting close. We got a shot this time, and then then Earth has like 19 weeks to figure out how to stop it. All right, we've determined they're gonna miss us this year. Like, oh, okay, good.
Well, all right. See you again.
All right, time to plan the next Federation parade.
Any thoughts on the freedom and the justice, I guess? I mean, those are the face of the franchise here at this point.
You know what? I'm not too big on the freedom and the justice. I think they're kind of bland, generic main hero Gundam. Every other Gundam was much more interesting, I thought, than the actual freedom or the strike, right?
I definitely agree about the justice, to an extent the freedom as well. You know what's interesting about the justice and the freedom is if you just look at the line art, like you just go, type in Justice Gundam or Freedom Gundam,
Yeah.
they look pretty boring in the default pose. I think they look better in action. Like if they're just standing there, they have very large backpacks, and
Right.
I don't think it looks good. In the animation, you don't notice it as much because the Freedom always has its guns like splayed out, which makes it look a lot better.
Right.
The Justice, though, particularly, that backpack is huge and it's not very flattering. I'm not a fan of the Justice. I think it looked fine in the show, but it's never just standing still in the show. It's like always moving and doing some weird pose. So maybe it's just a pose thing. But yeah, neither of them are my favorite. I don't think I would want a model of either of them. I really like the Providence, though. I'm on your boat with that one.
Yeah, and also in terms of red mobile suits, both of the ones Atherin had were not good as far as, the Char stand-in mobile suit, the sinister red mobile suit, the powerful red mobile suit piloted by an ace. I didn't get that at all from anything Atherin was piloting.
I think it's just maybe Atherin's personality.
Yeah. The one that was, I thought, interesting because it was kind of like either half sniper, half kind of heavy arms, was Buster Gundam. Even the color scheme was all right, but other than that, man, I'm going with the extended as being very flavorful Gundams.
The one that's not a Gundam that I liked was the one that Rao was using towards the end. I don't even know how to pronounce it. The Guaz, maybe?
Oh, wasn't that just a Jin? Like a white Jin? No?
Yeah, it was essentially the Cosmic Era version of a Gelgoog.
All right, that makes sense. It kind of had like big shoulders, right? If I remember.
It did, yeah, and it had the big fin thing.
Yeah, extra boosters on the shoulders or something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, as far as the ZAFT mobile suits, as zeonic as they try to make them look, no, I didn't find any attachment to them, and I don't think anybody else did. Even you, as much as you like maybe the aquatic ones or the flight ones, I'd be surprised if I saw them at your place after the pandemic.
Yeah, I probably won't be building many Cosmic Era suits.
No, there's other things to build that are more important.
I mean, the Freedom definitely has a huge following. There have been like not a million, but there have been, multiple master grades of the Freedom that sell very well.
Yeah, but hero mobile suits, hero Gundams that are always in like the generic Gundam colors are always hot sellers.
Yeah, that's true.
For every series, 00, Gundam Build Fighters Try, whatever. The hero's always in demand. It's always something that's unique and kind of out of the way where you're kind of, more curious to check out and make your selection more unique.
The one we didn't need was the Strike Rouge.
Yeah, that was just weird, wasn't it?
I thought, like, if you're going to give Kigali a mobile suit, give her something more unique. Don't just give her a pink version of the Strike. I mean, that doesn't fit Kigali's personality at all.
No, it was almost condescending, right? Like, why not do something like, I don't know, the Lady of Orb Astray or something like that, and it would be like this really super Astray version or something like that.
Right.
That would have made more sense, like, we made you the Izumi type, and she was like, oh, wow, thank you so much, or something like that. Yeah. But nope, they were like, well, we found white paint and pink and red paint, and we decided to mix them together. Here it is. We needed to get you one.
Maybe it's supposed to be red to match Atherin's? Is that why?
His isn't even red though.
No, it's like a
crimson, and
magenta-y kind of.
Yeah, still not even like a shade close enough to him. Maybe it's like an eternal thing. They're like, okay, our ship's pink. Some of our mobile suits need to be pink because we know ZAFT and Earth Alliance aren't going to use any pink in their designs.
I mean, she gets something better in Seed Destiny, but that's a different show. So
yeah, at that point, we're dealing with other characters too, so we don't see too much of her. So.
Yeah. All right, Isaac, do you have any other thoughts before we rate this bad boy?
I would say if you haven't seen Seed, you've listened to our 2 episodes on it, maybe you're on the fence, make the time to see it. It's new enough, and it also has a sequel series called Gundam Seed Destiny that it would be worth a watch. If you've seen the original series and you like the 1 Year War, watch this because it follows the beats of the 1 Year War almost exactly. Legged ship, Gundam Jack, go to Earth battles, go to space final battle, super weapons, done. It's fun. I enjoyed it more the first time I watched it compared to this rewatch, but maybe my tastes have changed. I'm ready to give my rating now. How about you, Brian?
I think we were probably a little harsh on it today, but I think overall it's a good show. I think it holds up still pretty well. I mean, it is a 20-year-old show now, basically, which is crazy to think about, right? It holds up better animation-wise, obviously, than 0079 does. So it doesn't feel like a 20-year-old show. It definitely feels a little dated now, but not. I don't think it feels 20 years old. Do you?
No, animation-wise, it doesn't look that dated. The music isn't dated. Tone-wise, it tried to strike a balance, I think, between being almost young and also very mature in tone. Not as mature as like Iron-Blooded Orphans or 00, but trying to strike a balance between the two. It didn't perfectly stick the landing, but there's enough there to enjoy it for, I think, fans that might be older or younger, or fans that overall just like Gundam.
The most dated part of it to me are the character designs. It definitely has that like mid 2000s aesthetic with like really big anime eyes.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gotten away from that art style a little bit, so that's the only part of it where I'm like, oh, I definitely feel the era that this show was made in.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. The eyes are just a little bigger than they are today, and maybe a little further apart or something.
Yeah. Also, in terms of like the redub, I didn't think it was necessary. The one thing that I've noticed though is that Azrael's character was given a much older voice. I assume to make him more sinister, but other than that, I don't think the voice acting was a big noticeable improvement or decrease for any of the other characters. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've seen both of them now.
Yeah.
Your opinion is just no real gain or loss. Why did we do this?
Yeah, we should have spent all that time on Double Zeta, on Victory, on Turn A, and we didn't. Gundam X. Yeah. Here we are.
Bummer, man.
Yeah.
What about Rao? Which Rao did you like? Because I feel like he talked the most at the end, or him and like Patrick Zala, right? Was the new one noticeably different than the old one?
No. The only one that was noticeable to me was Azrael, because the original dub, he has a much younger sounding voice, and I guess they didn't want, someone with so much weight, and maybe the logic in their minds was, is this really young guy really going to be part of like the Federation, the Earth Alliance's leadership? Probably not. So they really up-aged his voice.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd be really curious to hear your comments on if you've seen both versions of the dub. Which one do you like better, and your reasoning. I think the more I've read into it, I do see a lot of people now saying that they don't like the new one and they would prefer the old one. I can't really tell though if that's just because people are more attached to the old one. The new one certainly makes some weird decisions. Lacus being one of them.
Maybe, but at the same time, you would have to sit and watch the original dub and then watch the new dub. And I don't think a lot of people are going to do that. So we remember the original voices. We hear the new voices. But the fact that there isn't that much of a difference that strikes out to me, I don't think a lot of people are that pleased about it and see it as something that was kind of pointless. So that's why they don't really care too much for the new dub.
Yeah, I also think it's one of those things that if you had watched the new dub first, you might have the same reaction. I mean, was this the best dub in the world? No. Were there a lot of like terrible things about it? I don't think so. I thought it was perfectly acceptable. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a few episodes, right, where maybe some lines are a little stilted or where they don't sound exactly right. But, I mean, it's a 50-episode show, right? So you got to measure it on the whole thing.
I think overall it's a case of whatever dub you ran into first, that's your original version. That's your home version. So you're not going to be either too thrilled or, the new version, the new dub is just going to strike your ear differently. You know, it would be like watching Star Wars, and then you know, all the character voices are different. You know, you're like, what? You know, same story, but at the same time, you're like, I kind of liked it the old way.
Yeah. Okay, for this rating, Yzak, you have to tell me how many Haros as well as what color Haros, because Lacus/Lacus has all the colors of the rainbow.
Boy, okay. I would give Gundam Seed a 3.5 out of 5 Haros. And they would actually be all the Haro colors. They would be the purple one. I think she had a green one, a red one. I don't know, whatever else she had, yellow and blue. And I say all the colors because Gundam Seed gives you kind of everything, right? You got some great battles, you got cool super weapons, some love story and character developments. It gives you enough of a diversity in terms of like themes and things you'll see that it's worth a watch.
I'm going to give Gundam Seed an 8 out of 10 Haros. I think it's, like Yzak said, it's a pretty good reboot-ish, soft reboot of the 1 Year War story in a little bit more of a modern or attempted modern setting. It's very colorful. The animations still holds up today pretty well. If you refuse to watch things with old animation and you're never going to watch the original series, Gundam Seed is a good substitute. It's definitely not as good as the original series by any means, but it's enjoyable, especially if you don't have any attachment to Gundam. Like maybe this is someone's first Gundam series. I think that's true for a lot of people in America. For people of a certain age, so I think they look back on it very fondly. I think the downsides are just maybe don't think about some of the plot details too hard, and yeah, I mean, one thing maybe that takes away from it a little bit for me is I feel like the freedom was pretty overpowered at the end. Kira ended up being not as interesting to me, so for that reason, I cap it at 8 out of 10, and I will take a green, blue, yellow, pink, purple, red, orange, and brown Haro to make my 8 Haros. I don't think I repeated any colors, but
those are all good points. I mean, Kira is one of the most blandest protagonists in any series, and he really didn't shine here. I don't think he grew much as a character since he was always really on the fence, Mr. Peace, right? And the only person who grew that was sort of almost close to the center stage was Atherin. I guess Kigali too, but you know, she pretty much just went from being fighting against the war to fighting against the war, and this time without her dad. And as far as like other characters we met and the whole 3 ships alliance, you do kind of have to suspend some belief that, you know, 3 ships are able to hold their own amid a battle between seemingly hundreds or thousands of other ships in the end of this war. But yeah, overall, a fun series, I think.
So watch it. It's worth it. Do it.
And when we do our live watch for charity, we'll have the boob bounce counter.
I wonder if anyone's ever done that. Like, count the number of Ramius boob bounces in this show. And Flay.
Well, she's not the only. Does Natarle do it? Probably, right?
I don't think.
Wow.
I don't think there's many Natarle boob bounces. That's what actually took me by surprise when we had the triple one, because I was like, oh, is it because she's a captain now? Is that why? I just found that really odd. Like we don't get that a lot in Gundam shows.
We'll have the counter just for you, Brian, and then like we'll have charity matching per bounce. It'll be great. We'll raise so much money for kids in like group homes to have Leos.
We will ship you the finest Leo orphans. Don't worry.
Nothing but master grade Leos.
They'll have to settle for high grade. I don't think they'll ever make a master grade Leo.
All right. We'll do it. We'll do high grades.
So please let us know your comments on Gundam Seed, particularly the second half. Who was your favorite pilot? Who was your what Gundam was your favorite? Did you like the Earth Alliance boys? Did you like the Strike Daggers, the M1 Estrays? Whose side are you on? Are you with Patrick Zala? Are you with Azrael? Are you with Raoul Le Creuset or Raoul Le Crescent?
What kind of counselor would you make? Because we already have a rain counselor. That's an umbrella. A life counselor is a gun. There's so many options.
Yeah, it's so versatile, you know.
Food is a hunger counselor. The options are endless, Brian. There's a whole new world.
Money is a debt canceller.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. And debt is a net value counselor. I'm sorry, net worth counselor. Just don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and bounce.
Bounce, bounce, bounce.